Hey, what's going on, everyone? I wanted to try something a little bit different today since December is now upon us. My wife and I thought it might be a good idea to do like a gift guide. So in this video, I'm going to be covering some of my favorite Star Wars things and giving recommendations for different types of Star Wars fans and hopefully give you some ideas for the Star Wars fans in your life this holiday season. I want you to know that none of these products are sponsoring this video. These are all my personal recommendations, but full disclosure, in the description there are links to places like Audible or Amazon, where if you decide you want to buy any of these things, if you use those links, it will support the channel, but don't feel any pressure at all to use them. I'm just trying to be helpful, and we'll see how this goes. Since this channel is mostly about Star Wars knowledge and stories, let's kick things off with books. If you're buying for like a younger reader, I would suggest the Servants of the Empire series. Honestly, I would suggest it even if you are an adult, because the stories were really, really great. They're short chapter books, and there's only 4 of them, but they follow Zara Leonis, who you might remember from 1 or 2 episodes of Rebels. And it really goes into detail about kind of how the Empire functions, not just as a government, but also how their troops are trained, and it gives a lot of insight into things like that, and I found it very intriguing. It even connects with The Force Awakens a little bit, so that one is definitely on my list. Moving up in age a little bit to young adult novels, I would recommend Lost Stars. You seriously cannot go wrong with this book. It is, again, it's not just for young adult readers. It doesn't read like a teen literature book. It reads like an adult book. It's a fantastic story. It's about 2 childhood friends who find themselves on the opposite sides of the Galactic Civil War, and it's some of the best characters in Star Wars, and really we get to see the entire original trilogy through the eyes of normal people. And in my opinion, the Star Wars books out there, like, this is the best one. It is one of my favorites, and I highly recommend everyone read it, but it is appropriate for young readers and on up. Another young adult novel I would recommend is Ahsoka, especially if you're buying for a fan of the Clone Wars. It follows her story about a year after the events of Revenge of the Sith. It talks a lot about what she did right after she left the Jedi Order and up to that point, and it explains a lot of things like how she got her white lightsaber and how she became Fulcrum. So that one I would almost consider a must-read if you're a fan of the Clone Wars. If you're buying for a fan of the films, especially Rogue One, then Catalyst, a Rogue One novel, was really, really good. I think that it's really going to enhance my enjoyment of the film. I feel like I'm going to have a better connection with Galen and Lyra Erso, a better understanding of what makes the villain Orson Krennic tick. So even after the film is out, I would suggest that someone read this book and just get a better connection with those characters. And it's a James Luceno book, and he always writes great things, so check that one out too. Finally, for books, if you've got someone that wants to start getting into the old Star Wars legends for the first time, now is the perfect time to pick up the Thrawn trilogy, because they just re-released it surrounding Thrawn's reintroduction into the canon in Star Wars Rebels. So just keep in mind that those books aren't canon. They don't really have any connection to what's currently going on in Star Wars. They're just really great stories, and they're going to help you learn why people are so in love with the Grand Admiral. So links to all of those books are in the description if you want to buy a physical copy, or there's also a link to Audible, which you can sign up for a free trial, which comes with a free audiobook, and Lost Stars, Ahsoka, and Catalyst are all on Audible unabridged. Moving on to comics, I have a lot of people ask me where I get my comics. Personally, I use a digital subscription service called Comixology, which delivers them to me through email or my Kindle right when they're released, so I can read them right away and make a video about it if I need to. But local comic shops should have all the physical copies, and a lot of them will have collections as well. As for which comics to get, I have 2 big recommendations. First is Lando, which might be my favorite canon comic story told so far. It's only 5 issues, so it's a really easy introduction, but it's got a really emotional story. I don't want to talk about the plot too much because I just love it so much, but The story is fantastic. It's not going to be too hard on your budget if someone wants to just kind of like dip their toes into comics for the first time. For a bigger investment, you might want to check out the Darth Vader comic. It was 25 issues long, the story and the characters were consistently great, and it's come to a close now, so they're already starting to collect it into bigger books. If you're buying for like a younger child, I want to warn you, it is a little on the dark side, pun intended, but it follows the story of Darth Vader after the Battle of Yavin and how he rose to the power that we see him holding in The Empire Strikes Back. If you're buying for a gamer, you've got quite a few options. Battlefront has been out for about a year on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. The Scarif DLC is about to come out, so hopefully the community will respond to that because, I'll be honest, it's been a little lacking lately, so just be aware of that if you're considering buying it. If you're going for like a smaller, younger gamer, then the Lego Star Wars games are very family friendly and fun for adults too. And there's literally like a mountain of old games on Steam, like the Force Unleashed, Dark Forces, the X-Wing and TIE Fighter games, and you can get all of those for pretty cheap, so take a look at those. If you're looking for more like a tabletop gamer, then the core set for the X-Wing game is a great place to start. It's like 25 or 30 bucks. It comes with 2 TIE Fighters and an X-Wing, and the game is a blast. There's a huge community surrounding it. It's very popular and very competitive, but can also be played casually. But you should be warned that it can turn into quite the expensive hobby. Like, there are tons of expansions for it, lots of cool different ships. It can be very addicting. Another option would be Imperial Assaults, made by the same company, but it's a different style. It's like a scenario, team-based game, kind of an RPG tabletop, but more like Arcadia Quest, if you've ever played that, if you're familiar with it, where a team of 4 people play rebels that are trying to fight against the Empire, and I've played that, and it's a lot of fun. It's also kind of pricey, so if you're looking for maybe a less expensive alternative, there is Star Wars Destiny, which is a dice/card game, and I'll be honest, I have not played that. I've seen it played a little bit, and I've heard good things, but I don't really know much about it other than it's like a cheaper way to get into tabletop gaming if you're looking specifically for Star Wars games. Well, how about clothing? Of course, I need to plug TeePublic, where you can get this great Star Wars Explained shirt, but really there's a ton of awesome Star Wars designs out there, either on my storefront or you can do your own searching. And then there's always stores like Hot Topic or Box Lunch Gifts. They always have really cool and unique designs. For toy collectors, the Black Series are probably the highest quality action figure you can get that won't break the bank. Or if you have more money than you know what to do with, or if you're buying for someone super duper special, you can check out Hot Toys or Sideshow Collectibles, because they have some really awesome statues and figures to choose from. Finally, let's just talk about some of the miscellaneous Star Wars stuff that's floating around out there. ThinkGeek has a selection of some seriously random stuff, everything from a Death Star waffle maker to Jedi bathrobes to koozies to mugs to lightsaber chopsticks and like more. There's so much stuff there. Also, I've seen these like LED lamps floating around and they look pretty cool. If you needed some gift ideas for a Star Wars fan, I really hope this video helped you out. Again, none of the products mentioned here are sponsoring this video. I'm not getting paid to mention anything. For the most part, they are all my own personal recommendations. They're things that I have either read or used personally, except in the case of Star Wars Destiny. I've never played that. While I have ordered from ThinkGeek quite a bit, I think the specific items I mentioned I've never used. I just think they're cool. And the LED lamp, again, I just think it's cool, but I haven't personally used it. I've just heard good things about it. But if there are things on this list that you think you might be interested in buying for yourself or for someone else this season, if you use the links in the description, you will be supporting the channel, which I would greatly appreciate. But again, don't feel any pressure. I'm really just trying to make a helpful video, and I hope it helps you narrow down your search for Star Wars related gifts. I hope you all have a very merry holiday season, and may the Force be with you.